Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. We're stepping right into the shadows to deconstruct a pretty chilling crime scene. Go ahead and get comfortable, but, keep your eyes sharp. We're about to unravel a dark, really atmospheric puzzle set in the pouring rain of Hyderabad. Let's just dive right in. So, who killed prominent businessman Samir Singhania? That is literally the question of the hour. And for this explainer, you're not just hanging back and watching. I really want you to position yourself as a co-investigator right alongside our lead detective, ACP Arjan. I'm going to lay out the evidence, the suspect testimonies, and the whole timeline. Your job? Pay super close attention to every single detail. Look for the contradictions. Somewhere in what we're about to review, the killer makes a massive error. Let's see if you can catch it before Arjan does.
Okay, let's set the scene. It's Hyderabad. The time is exactly 11 p.m., and the rain is just pouring heavily over this posh neighborhood. It creates this incredibly thick, moody atmosphere. ACP Arjun is sitting in his police cruiser when his phone violently buzzes. It's his sub-inspector on the other end, and he's speaking with extreme urgency. The body of prominent businessman Samir Singhania has just been discovered at his massive Medipatnam farmhouse. Arjun doesn't waste a single second. He's at the scene within minutes, completely ready to process the grim reality waiting inside.
So Arjan walks into the massive living room and immediately starts taking in the physical evidence. Samir is sitting upright in his leather armchair. There's a silver dagger plunged deep into his chest. But I want you to notice those last two facts. No signs of struggle and absolutely no forced entry. You see, this wasn't just some random break-in or a burglary gone wrong. The total lack of a struggle and the intact doors mean the killer absolutely had to be someone Samir actually knew, someone he trusted enough to turn his back on, or, sit comfortably with late at night. This was definitely an inside job. Arjun immediately locks down the premises and gathers the three people who were actually present at the farmhouse that night. We're going to start with suspect number 1, Kavita, Samir's wife. She claims she was fast asleep upstairs. She knows that Samir mentioned an important late-night business deal with someone, which is exactly why she just stayed out of the way. Now, that's a very convenient alibi, isn't it? It completely places her far away from the physical crime scene, safely tucked away in bed, and perfectly explains away why she wouldn't hear a literal murder happening right downstairs. But, is it actually the truth? Then we have suspect number 2. This is Rahul, Samir's younger brother. Now, his statement is completely different in tone. He openly admits he was called over to settle a, quote, financial matter. And let me tell you, in the world of investigation, financial matter is basically a giant flashing neon sign for a motive. On top of that, he admits Samir was furious. But, and this is crucial, Rahul places himself safely outside the house. He says he was just sitting in his car, waiting for his brother to cool down. So he hands himself a motive, but completely removes himself from the physical proximity of the weapon. And finally, we have suspect number 3. This is Raghav, Samir's longtime manager. His statement is honestly arguably the most mundane of the bunch. He tells Arjun that he was down in the basement just fetching some old company audit files that Samir had requested. He claims total ignorance of the violent events unfolding on the ground floor. It's just a very standard, kind of boring excuse for a late-night employee. So, we've got 3 suspects and 3 seemingly solid alibis. Wife upstairs, brother outside, manager downstairs. But as we all know, a good investigator never just relies on testimonies. People lie, right? Physical evidence does not. So Arjun shifts his sharp eyes away from the suspects and starts scanning Samir's desk. And there it is, the hidden clue. We aren't talking about a bloody footprint or a dropped weapon here. It's literally just a tiny, torn scrap of paper resting right next to a half-empty cup of coffee. Honestly, it's the kind of thing you might easily brush away or just ignore entirely, assuming it's trash. But Arjun, he looks closer. Scribbled hurriedly on that little torn piece of paper is a time, 10:45. It's not a name, it's not some grand confession, it's just a time. Now, why on earth would a man in his final moments or right before a deadly confrontation write down this specific number? Arjun immediately recognizes that this isn't just some random doodle. Oh no, this is a timestamp. To really understand why this is so absolutely critical, let's map out the timeline. Arjun turns to the forensic expert on the scene and asks for the estimated time of death. The expert says the window is roughly between 10:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. Just look at how this aligns. 10:30 p.m. is the earliest possible time. 11 p.m. is the latest possible time, which, by the way, is exactly when the police were called. And right there, sitting precisely in the dead center of the murder window, is the time scribbled on the note, 10:45 p.m. That note wasn't a reminder for some meeting earlier in the day. It was written while the murder was actually taking place. With this exact timeline now established, Arjun smiles faintly. He gathers Kavita, Rahul, and Raghav right back into the living room. He looks at them dead in the eye and says, "The killer is standing right among us, and they made one critical mistake." Now I'm going to pause right here. Think back over all the facts we've just covered: the physical state of the room, those 3 alibis, the timeline. Have you spotted the contradiction yet? Did you catch the lie that ACP Arjun just figured out? Let's see if you're right.
All right, here's how it plays out. Arjun walks straight up to Raghav, the manager. Let's just compare Raghav's claim against the actual physical reality. Raghav confidently stated he was down in the basement fetching files. But Arjun had just inspected that exact basement, and the reality? Well, the lights down there were completely broken. The floor was covered in this thick, undisturbed layer of dust. If Raghav had truly been down in that dark, filthy basement digging for files for even 5 minutes, his clothes would be visibly stained. His hands would be filthy. But as Arjun points out to him, his hands and clothes are absolutely spotless. The alibi is literally physically impossible.
Caught in a direct, completely indisputable lie, Raghav's face just turns pale. He panics, and he immediately tries to pivot, frantically changing his story on the spot. He stammers out, "Sir, I lied. I was actually sneaking outside to smoke a cigarette." It's such a desperate attempt to create a brand new alibi out of thin air, just to explain why he was clean but supposedly out of the room. But Arjun, he isn't having any of it. The pressure of that cold, hard logic has already forced a massive crack in Raghav's defense. Arjun completely counters him, his voice dropping to this cold, dramatic whisper as he lays out the real sequence of events. Step 1. Samir didn't want files. He had actually recently discovered someone was embezzling crores of rupees from his company. Step 2. Tonight, Samir called his manager to the house and confronted him face to face. The time? Exactly 10:45 p.m. Step 3, Raghav, suddenly realizing his life and career were entirely over, totally panicked. In a moment of pure desperation, he grabbed that silver dagger from the desk and struck. But step 4, and this is honestly the most chilling part, just before the fatal blow, Samir glanced at his watch and deliberately scribbled down the exact time of the confrontation. He literally left behind the ultimate piece of evidence against his own killer. Under the crushing weight of this undeniable deduction, Raghav completely breaks down. He collapses to his knees, tears streaming down his face, and finally confesses to the whole thing. A desperate attempt to cover up financial fraud had turned a manager into a cold-blooded killer. And it all unraveled because of one single tiny detail: clean hands that should have been dusty. It really makes you think about how one completely overlooked variable can just destroy a seemingly perfect fabrication, doesn't it? So, looking back at the structure of the evidence, would you have caught his mistake before Arjun did? It's amazing how systematically analyzing the facts always brings the truth to light. Thanks so much for joining me as a co-investigator on today's Explainer. Until next time, keep analyzing, keep questioning, and always, always keep your eyes on the details.